Good morning, everyone. How's everybody doing this morning? I'm going to step away for just a second. Run into the room, grab a glass of water. The second I hit go live, I was like, man, I think I got a cough. We got to fix that. BRB. All right, we're back. That feels much better. The second I hit live, like I just felt my throat like, I was like, oh man, I got a cough and it's going to be bad. But we survived. What's up, Adam? How you doing, man? How's everybody doing this morning? We're back live again this week. I can't believe it. How's everybody doing this morning? How is everybody since last time we got to hang out? If you're missed last week's episode because it was not live, I had some stuff going on. Ian had to pre-record an episode in total bum fashion. I did not get a chance to go and get it posted live on the channel until almost the afternoon instead of 10 o'clock in the morning like I said it was going to be, because I'm a bum and that's what bums do. Jason says, I'm here on time for once. Thanks for answering my question last week. I also like to add that nobody is checking bats in leagues, so who knows what kind of death rocket you're facing. That is true. Most of the time, at least umpires do have somewhat of an understanding of an idea of bats being used, but there are times where they don't either. Yeah, so thanks, Adam. You digging the vlogs. So the vlogs seem to be a little bit of a mixed review. I've seen people really liked it. Some people really hated it. So I'm not really sure what to think there. I got a couple of messages saying that they did not enjoy that type of content. Those also might have been the 3 thumbs downs that the video got almost right away. I'm not really sure. There could be somebody that was new to the channel and maybe not used to the fact that I was vlogging, because that has been a long time since I have vlogged. But I had a good time doing that. I had a good time making it. A couple of friends of mine that were in it sent me a message like, hey, it's a lot of fun being in that. And I even had a couple of friends of mine send me messages and say, hey, next time I'm there, and you're doing that, give me a holler if you want to film anything or anything like that. So I'm not sure the crowd that felt the video to not be unliked, if they just weren't familiar with that type of content. Maybe it was that particular vlog. I don't know. They are entitled to their opinion. If they don't like the video, they don't like the video. I'm not going to hold that against them or anything else. They're 100% open to dislike any content on this channel. I don't make this content to please everybody. It's just going to be part of what happens is things like that. Making content people don't enjoy. But I had a good time doing it. I'm going to try and do another one when I get a chance to go play a tournament. I actually think my next tournament is going to be the Major out in Kansas. We are signed up to play in that, and I don't know that I will vlog that weekend. Just as like a full transparency thing, I do not plan on touching the field that weekend, playing time-wise. So I don't know what's going to be there that's going to be overly interesting. Obviously, there's major softball going on all around you. But I don't know that if I'm not playing that there's going to be much for content there. But we can kind of play it by ear and see. Andrea, they have stopped making the 220 bats. They were done as of last year. I know Easton was still trying to slide a few out the door at the end of last year, beginning of this year. I don't know how they manage that, how they're getting it done, whatever else. But everybody is done making 220 bats, to my knowledge, and what's left for sale is all that's left out there. I think Headbanger Sports still has a handful of Mikan and Worth for sale. And I don't know about the other retailers. I don't keep up with them, but I know that Headbanger has a handful of stuff. And then once they're gone, they're gone. Brian says it's because I offended the people that watch the vlog with the Monster energy drink instead of the Reign energy drink. I'm just not a Reign energy drink guy. I'm not really a big Monster guy either. I try not to drink that stuff, but man, I get in like a really bad habit of drinking nothing but energy drinks. I don't know. It's just one of those things like you got to do what you got to do to survive sometimes, and that's what you got to do to survive. But man, if you can ever get yourself weaned off of that stuff and spend like a month or two not drinking it, you don't realize like how much better you feel without it. But it's just a bitch to try and get through that initial like period of not drinking them, just to see how it does make you feel. Because like just like Andrea said, I drink the Monster Zeros as well. I mess with the Bangs just a little bit, but something about drinking too many of the Bang energy drinks on the regular. I limit myself to 2 a day and not 2 at a time either. But even then, like I don't know. The Bangs just get to me after a while. Jason said he just ordered the Young Guns from Headbanger. I should be here Friday and looking forward to trying the first 240 bet. Yeah, I got one as well. I don't know how many are left. I need to look at that and see just to kind of get an idea. Ended up just kind of forking out of pocket for one of those just because it looked intriguing. Had to have it. What's up, Mike? How you doing, man? It looked intriguing. Had to have it. I do have the confetti Nautilus, I think is what they're calling it, the confetti. And then the mid-loaded Nautilus. I have those 240s sitting here at the house already. And then I do believe transparency-wise, Headbanger was open and saying, this Young Guns is just a Nautilus, a regular end-loaded Nautilus, but it's not like you can get them. Excuse me, it's not like you can get them anywhere else right now. So, you take the opportunity to grab one and roll with it. But I'm looking forward to trying it out. Always enjoy trying something that's for the players and by the players, so that's cool. I know Headbanger posted a video of Phil Matt, who is one of the signature players on the bat, actually helping out and pack the bats and pack the pre-orders, so that's always cool. No, Jacob, I've not swung the confetti yet. I'm hoping to get out and get some swings tomorrow, potentially tomorrow afternoon. You're going to kind of see what happens with this overtime situation at work, and we can kind of go from there. So the shoulder's been feeling really good, and I don't know what to do. I went to throw my towel onto the hook last night. after my shower, and my shoulder said, crack. So I'm all stiff and sore again. I don't know what that was all about, because it's been feeling really good. I still don't have like the overhead motion to throw overhand for like a good long while. Like I caught one game at a tournament this past weekend, and I was pretty sore. Just like, man, I was starting to feel it towards the end of the game. I was glad somebody else got there to catch. Jason blew up the red knot a lot this weekend, maybe 300 swings. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the life expectancy of those things, but go ahead and be honest, that was some of the best 300 swings you ever had, though, wasn't it? Thanks, Jared. Glad you enjoyed the vlog, man. Like I said, it was a lot of fun. The guys that had a problem with it, like I said, I don't know if they were new to the channel, or maybe they came from a different channel expecting different type of content, but I'll post just about whatever here. I'm actually kind of been debating maybe doing less bat reviews. How I want to say it. Doing less bat reviews and being a little more in depth with the ones that I do, and posting just more vlogs and more oddball content and more comparison stuff. I'm not really all that big on comparisons because there's a lot of variables that go into it, but at some point you have to look past like the fact that like just because something might not make sense in your head to do a comparison on doesn't mean that it doesn't make sense for somebody else, and it's something that somebody else may want to see. I've been guilty of that before and been proven wrong many times by myself, by some friends that said you should post that anyway, and content that I may not find the most interesting sometimes does the best on the channel. For this podcast, for example, I went through a little bit of a phase there where the podcast was just kind of blah. But way back in the day, literally, if you go back in the podcast playlist to the first podcast ever posted, I mean, we literally decided in a matter of minutes. It's like, oh yeah, I've been thinking about doing a podcast. And Gabe says, yeah, you should. That's a good idea. And next thing you know, 10 minutes later, we've got 2 computers strung out and cameras and shit going on everywhere. And it turned into what it was. And we had fun doing it. And then I kind of lost interest in it. But the crowd seemed to enjoy it. You guys seemed to enjoy it. So I tried to ride it out for as long as I could. And then kind of lost interest in it. But, man, why wouldn't it happen? Hang on, guys. I got a phone call. Right on, love that. Answer the phone and they hang up. So, like I said, I kind of struggled with the podcast and getting it done. I kind of pushed through and did it for you guys, but I just kind of lost the interest in it. But I am glad, really glad that I kind of decided to go back to the weekly episodes, going live, and just kind of riding the storm out. Because now, like I said, this is some of the content that I look forward to making more than anything. And, as usual, too, one thing I like about going live is if you guys have questions or anything like that, or questions or comments about anything else, I'm sitting here looking at this live chat right now. I can answer those questions. I can, cover something, that's maybe a topic that I haven't thought about, or a topic that maybe somebody hasn't had time to reach out about. You can sit here and do it live. And the cool thing about it, too, is if it's a topic that, maybe I'm not 100% familiar with, or the other side of it too is like a topic that everybody's familiar with, we can kind of sit and discuss things with the live chat and, kind of sort through it and make what we need to of it to get the best answer we can for whatever question it might have been. Matt Phillip says he can't throw overhand anymore either. After he blew up his shoulder like 5 years ago. A team calls you T-Rex. So I've never had really, really bad issues with my arm anyway. So for this to happen is just kind of aggravating. Like I had just a small bit of issues when I was really, really young, like early high school years young. but I got over that pretty quick with some physical therapy and stuff. But I think just age and not taking care of my body was the main thing that got me. I went and had a really heavy bench press day, and then immediately walked onto the field without, even though I just got done doing a bunch of bench press stuff, heavy bench press stuff at that. Thinking like, oh, I'm warmed up, I've been moving, I don't need to do this. Well, it's a different set of movements. And one thing I always try and do when I am lifting and working out, it's like, even if I'm transitioning from, flat bench to incline bench, I'll do a couple of really, really light warm-up sets with the bar, maybe just a little bit of weight, just to get the feeling for that movement before you start throwing weight on. And it's the same thing what I should have did when I got to the ball field was stretched out, got everything moving, and I did not, and it cost me. But we're going to get there. Like I said, everything's been feeling pretty good, other than this last little hiccup I just had here a couple nights ago. So we'll kind of look and see what's going on. I've got physical therapy again tomorrow, so I'll ask them about that and see what they want to do, and see if they want to monitor that situation anymore. It's kind of silly because, like, I throw overhand hardly at all, but my kids are both young, so that's something that I'm not willing to give up or have trouble with just yet. And just the functionality of the shoulder in general for whatever it might be, I'm definitely not looking to give that up yet. So Mr. Warfield wants to know what's the difference between the 220 and the 240 bats, and it doesn't mean the 220 is outlawed. So I'm going to do a video on that. That's kind of what I was alluding to earlier, with maybe posting less bat reviews, less bat reviews, and be a little more in depth with them, which would give me an opportunity to post more informational content that's not necessarily bat reviews, because I do want to do a video about that. Just kind of talk about the differences, what the different stamps look like, and what my opinion on why the new stamp has been created is. Because right now, the 240 stamp bats are something new for U-Trip, and to my knowledge, unless there is local rules that are put in place and set in place otherwise, the 240 stamp is only required in Conference U-Triple-SA play, which means the conference, like the big dogs, basically all the C, B, and A teams, and all the AA and major teams that go out and play in the Conference U-Triple-SA events. That is the only place that stamp is actually required. Now, there's nothing saying that a state or local director can't go ahead and mandate that stamp for their play as well. But to my knowledge, that has not happened. Local rules are going to fluctuate everywhere you go. But as far as if you look up the U-Trip rulebook, it's going to say the 220 stamp is still grandfathered in. So far, it says indefinitely, but who knows how long that'll be. But the 240 stamp, basically the numbers 240 and 220 are alluding to compression testing wise. Compression testing kind of measures the performance of a bat. And the 240, the higher the number, the less performance a bat is going to have. So the 240 standard is going to be a less performing bat than the 220 standard. The bats are made to pass a specific standard after they break in, and that is what the 240 bats currently are, is a lesser performing standard. And there's a few different science things behind it that I'm not going to dive too far into right now, but they're supposed to get to 240, kind of hang and hover there, and then break shortly after, instead of some of these bats that are just getting absolutely wild. I was kind of joking around with my BP partner Brian the other day about we're not going to call them 220 bats anymore. We're going to call them 180 bats, because every freaking 220 bats test 180 at some point, and then usually stays there for a while. It's kind of crazy, but it's just a fact of softball, it seems like. Jared says, even stuff where you're working on your swing or working on pitches and talking about what you are doing would be very good stuff. Yeah. So I wish I would have got my tournament footage from this past weekend, because it would have been a good one. I actually hit well for once in my life, and it would have been good to just go over those at bats and kind of explain that. I did like doing the going over my swings videos. Like I said, I have no shame. I'm not the best hitter in the world, and I did not have a very good year at all last year. So but I still like to go over those swings and kind of explain mindset and that type of thing. And situational hitting is something that I feel like a lot of people don't, I wouldn't necessarily say practice, but think about. You don't have to go up there and in BP and think about like, all right, well, I've got to hit like I've got 2 runners on in front of me every time I swing the bat in this round of BP. But even if you just decide to go up there and free swing for the round, at least while you're free swinging, try and keep situations in mind. Like you could do something like where you do a base hit, and then a home run. You could do a free swinging base hit. Your second swing can be a base hit to try and hit around the runner that you just got on first base. And then your second swing can be something where you just let her eat. And something that the let her eat swing can kind of teach you as well is being aggressive and driving a ball without missing it. I like to do that. I don't sit around and talk about it or get too hung up in being vocal about it in BP, but I do like the base hit, home run mentality. I haven't done that much here lately just because I've been focusing on a few other things, but that is something good that's good for game situations. And if you've got a BP pitcher that's patient with you, swing at pitches in BP. You should anyway, but sometimes it's easier said than done depending on your BP pitcher situation and everything else. But only swing at pitches that you would in a game. I know easier said than done, but that's something that can also make a big difference. If my guy Derek Skates was here right now, he would tell you, because I've burned it in his head, hitters hit strikes. When he took the time to slow down and be patient, dude can just hit the absolute crap out of the ball. If he can get his hands on something, he's just full send at the first thing he could reach. And being patient and waiting for a pitch that he knows he can hit well, I guarantee you added 200 points to his OBP. Just enough can't be said for hitting a strike and hitting a good pitch all the time. That's like a good friend of mine and a great hitter. His name is Ross Huebner. He kind of explained that to me one time. Me and Brian were hitting with him, and I can't remember the specific question that Brian asked him, but basically Ross's response was, as long as I'm hitting strikes, I have nobody to blame but myself for when I get out. I was kind of like, holy shit, this dude's right. Like, if you're hitting a strike, you should be able to hit a strike. You should be able to hit a strike no matter what. And as long as you're hitting strikes, you have nobody to blame but yourself for making it out. If you chase a bad pitch and you get out, who's to blame? And a lot of times, more than not, unless you are just a freak of a hitter, you're not going to get many hits hitting bad pitches anyway. So wait on a good pitch and hit it. And if you get out, you've got nobody but yourself to blame, and back to the drawing board you go. But that is one thing that really opened my eyes to hitters hit good pitches. And that's what, if Skates is around, I'll yell at Skates. I'll say, Skates, tell him. I said, what hitters hit? He'll just go, strikes. It's it's one of those things, man. It's like burn it in your brain, write it on your batting gloves, whatever you got to do to remind yourself, hitters hit strikes. Am I planning on getting back at Adam for his video he did on me? One of the funniest bat reviews. No, man. Adam had fun with that. I enjoyed that too. I did not think even the slightest bit that Adam was clowning on me or anything else. Adam and I talk a lot behind the scenes, and I got an absolute kick out of that review. Every now and then, I still stop in and watch that review just for the giggle it gave me. Adam did a good job. He knocked that thing out of the park. For those that don't know who I'm referring to as Adam, Adam is Fat Guy BP. He's also in the bat review game. Go over to his channel, subscribe, and check that stuff out. He ordered one of the custom Pure Integrities that we ran last year and did his review on it, and it was awesome. You should definitely go over and check that review out. Well worth the watch. Let's see. Corey says, seems like a lot of the new 240 bats are failing compression pretty quickly. Makes buying a bat tough just to justify right now because their 220 stamps are going for a pretty penny on the secondhand market. Yeah, so bat prices in general are nuts. I kind of talked about that a little bit in the last podcast. And at the end of the day, it dwells down, like I said, to people that are spending that money on those bats are just basically going to look at you and tell you to go screw off. It's their money and they can spend it how they want. And they are correct, but you just kind of look ridiculous spending money on certain things sometimes. 220 stamp bats can still be affordable. It may not be exactly what you want because of the way the market is right now, but you can definitely, without a doubt, still find something that could fit your needs and be a great performer with as many good 220 bats as there is out there from the last 3 or 4 years. And as far as the compression thing goes, Brian and I haven't had a ton of issues. I think we're up to 5 or 6 240 stamped bats that we have started or have swung for reviews, and haven't had a single one fail yet. I think it just kind of goes back to using a little bit of common sense, and we haven't really gone like full send on one either, just because it's one of those things where I don't want to break a bat that someone has sent me to use. I know last year I kind of swore off taking subscriber bats in, but with kind of the way the bat market has been and everything else, Headbangers' hands have been tied with getting anything sent out, because as fast as they're getting stuff in, it's going out of stock. It's kind of crazy to see, but they can't justify, and I do not expect them, let me reiterate, I do not expect them to send me stuff when they are struggling to keep it on the shelves. So I've just been lucky enough to have a little bit of revenue kind of generated and built up from doing this YouTube gig, and some of the support that you guys are giving through the Patreon page, which is somewhere that you can just basically give the channel a little bit of a cash influx, whether it be a one-time thing or whether it's something where you decide to throw a few bucks every month. That has been extremely helpful, and it's been helpful in getting me the opportunity to go out and pick up some stuff as it comes in stock so I can get reviews on stuff. And with doing that, that's also been a situation where it's not something that I can just go out and beat the brains out of and see what it's going to be like after it fails compression, because I kind of need my money back out of that thing so that I can sell it and order something else, just to kind of keep the flow of content going. At some point we will try and get us a 240 and beat the brains out of it just to see what it does, because I have been hearing reports that the 240s are failing after they get down below 240, and not too far past 240 either. But without doing that firsthand and seeing that, I can't verify or really speak on that situation. But so far we have had no issues. We've been putting between 40 and 50 swings on bats with 52 300 balls, and then another 40-ish, I'm going to say 40-ish. That number varies, but it's been no more than 50 or 60 swings with a Pro M, a Classic M, nothing harder than that, and we have not experienced any compression issues yet. And yes, Eric, there are no more 220 bats to be produced. I do believe that is the final thing. There will, if there's a 220 bat on the shelf, it is something that has been produced last year and is left over. There are no more 220s being produced. Adam says he can never knock me. Man, it's okay to knock me. It's all right. You had fun posting that review, and if anybody took that as you taking a jab at me as far as like the fun you had with reviewing that Pure Integrity, then I guess they just don't know me. They don't know you. They don't know us. And, I mean, it's all good. It's all right. We know where we stand with each other, and hopefully the community does too. I enjoyed that review a lot, and I really like having you to, kind of bounce ideas off and that kind of thing. The slow pitch softball community, as far as content creation, has a very small niche of content creators. So sometimes we've got to put our heads together and think of some ways to make content. So it's always nice to have somebody to kind of bounce that stuff off of. Blue Panda. Am I hitting Pro Ams or Classic Ms with 240s for the most part? I am hitting a mix of Pro Ms and Classic Ms and some like NSA icons too, just because some of these bats are still legal for regular USSSA play, as well as NSA and some other stuff. So we've just been hitting a mix of Pro Ms, Classic Ms, and some NSA icons and like some random 44-400s and stuff. More on that in a video that I'll be posting later today. Be sure and check it out. So Batflip Bros says ASA bat prices are even more stupid. I cannot believe what people spend on some of this stuff. Just got to borrow an OG Rebellion from a buddy. It's a good $200 bat, not a $500+ bat. Yeah, and ASA really depends a lot on hype. They have like really two right now. Really, in my opinion, right now, ASA is ran by two manufacturers, and those two manufacturers are Anarchy and Monster. And I do think that they make probably some of the best performing ASA, USA, whatever you want to call them. Some of the best performing USA bats on the market right now. And DeMarini is also right up there with them. And really, I personally think that Mikan and Worth are really kind of one thing. And then you got DeMarini. Like, they all make bats that are right there at the top. But the number of bats being made by Anarchy and Monster just dwarfs the number of bats that Worth and Mike can make. It seems like almost everything that Anarchy and Monster make are top tier, and Worth and Mike and DeMarini have a handful that are top tier, but they don't have nearly as many. For whatever reason that is scientifically beyond me, but that is the way it kind of seems to me. And I think that's kind of one of those deals where that's where the hype comes into play, because everybody knows that every bat's going to be good. And if availability is limited, which it has been a lot with the Anarchy stuff, you know, outside looking in, it seems like Smash It Sports basically just runs Anarchy. Nothing against anybody affiliated with that brand, but it really does look like Smash It is pretty much just running Anarchy at this point. And you know, those guys are along for the ride, and more power to them. I mean, they built that brand to do whatever they want with it. If that's how they want to run it, that's fine. But in doing that, Smash It knows what they're doing. It's released. They do the same thing with all the freaking Eastons. You know, it's released a very limited, like 200 count of bats. You know, they fly off the shelf after a little bit of hype, or you know the brand is getting hype. You make a very limited quantity of something, watch it fly off the shelf because everyone wants one before they're gone. Then just wash, rinse, and repeat. Wash, rinse, and repeat. Wash, rinse, and repeat. You just keep doing the same thing over and over and over again, and it's an easy way to keep hype going. It's an easy way to keep prices sky high, because if you release 200 of a bat and convince someone that it might be different than the other 600 that you just made with close to the same specs, that's all it takes. That's all it takes, because being in primarily ASA country around here, you know, you see a lot of really good bats from the years. Now, speaking, I know I said the Worth and Mike can have one or two really good bats a year. The DeMarini has one or two really good bats a year. And then, you know, kind of the Anarchy and Monster have a lot of good bats every year. You see bats from different years of each one of those brands at the field performing very well. So there's no doubt that there's a lot of good bats over the years out there. So the need to overpay for something is a little absurd, but it falls back to used bat prices getting wild. And, you know, somebody can say, well, it's my money, I'll spend it however I want. That's fine. That's completely fine. You can spend your money however you want. And doing things like that, and the raffle game, you know, guys can justify spending $400 on a new and wrapper bat that sold for $250, you know, 3 months ago, because it's been hyped, and they know that they can turn around and raffle it for $1,000 freaking dollars. And that stuff there is just murdering the used bat game right now. even the used like secondhand bat game. It's just absolutely murdering it. So that's half the issue with it, but it's kind of funny because that's half the reason that I started the channel back in the day was to help someone find the deals so they don't have to go out and overpay on stuff like that. Like right now, my gamer is a bat that I paid $60 for. I'm gaming a D2E Psycho. If you're one of the OGs on the channel, you know what bat I'm talking about. I had a D2E Psycho that I just absolutely swore by years ago, and I actually was still in contact with the owner, the guy that I sold it to. I was like, hey, if you ever want to sell that, I got dibs on it. I finally sent him a message like, hey, so what do you think about selling that? And I told him just to name his price, and he's like, how about $50-$60? Which, given the condition it's in, is probably all it would have brought anyway. So, I'm out here giving my $60 bat and doing just as well as the guys that are out here swinging the $400 Resmondos that they just had to have piled up in the closet. There's so much good stuff out there. You don't have to overpay for anything. That is the message to take away from this. Yeah, Panda, I do agree. Worth and Mikan probably have some of the biggest sweet spots in the ASA USA platform. There's no doubt about that. Their big barrel stuff is just literally almost impossible to miss with. It's kind of crazy. The U-Trip has been the same way, and their big barrel ASA USA stuff has been the same way. Their short barrel stuff really hasn't blown me away, but their big barrel ASA USA stuff, it's just top notch when it comes to sweet spot and forgiveness or performance and that kind of thing. One thing I did mean to ask earlier, I always ask this question as kind of the podcast is starting and it didn't. Where's everybody playing this weekend? Has everybody got big plans? Playing any big tournaments? Is there anybody here going to the major, the Crown City Classic, or whatever the next major is going to be out here in Kansas? Is anybody actually going to that? You always kind of try to ask that question as everybody's kind of filing in, and I didn't for once. So I just wanted to throw that out there real quick. I'm kind of looking through my list of topics here. Oh, and one thing I did want to ask is, how did everybody's team do in the NFL draft? I know we're a little bit late to the party with that, but I haven't had a chance to talk to you guys. How did everybody's team do in the draft? Being a Bears guy, I'm kind of excited about getting Justin Fields. Very mixed message, signing Andrew Dalton and going on with all this QB1 jargon and everything else that has been put out to turn around and draft a quarterback. But you know what? I ain't mad at it. To have a good quarterback to start with at a young age, I think is huge. Is very huge. And hopefully we don't just throw him to the wolves anxious to try and get something done production-wise. I think, personally, the best play, because I think Dalton is a great quarterback. Maybe an unpopular opinion, but I do think Dalton is a great quarterback. He's just never had much for a team around him. And I feel like, being a Bears fan and watching a lot of the Bears games last year, that while Trubisky didn't do a terrible job, he didn't do a great job either. And they had a lot of weapons on offense around them. And even their best running back we didn't have for our entire season. And we're still able to muster up a playoff appearance and make a little bit of noise there. So I think a good quarterback, is going to take us to that next level, whether it's Dalton now and you let Fields kind of get his feet wet with it and kind of learn from Dalton, which is also a very good thing that Fields is going to walk into, is having Dalton and all of his experience as a quarterback in the league. They can kind of do the teaching thing, or we can just kind of throw Fields to the wolves and see what happens. And if Fields puts on his ass, at least he'll have Dalton to kind of turn around. Dalton can say, yeah, get back up, get back up, get out there and get it. Adapt to this, adapt to that, and he can kind of help him in that regard. There's a couple of different ways it could go. So I'm hopeful that things are going to pan out well in the long run for the Chicago Bears quarterback situation for the first time in what seems like forever. Because if you follow football closely, stop and wrap your mind around this. The Bears made the Super Bowl in 2008. They did not win, but they made the Super Bowl. And do you know who their quarterback was? Rex Grossman. Stop and think about that. Think about that dude's resume, where he's been and where he's gone, and the fact that he was in the Super Bowl. Rex Grossman in the Super Bowl. He got us to the Super Bowl. What could a good quarterback do? So I saw this on Facebook, changing gears here. I saw this on Facebook a while back and saved it to my phone because I wanted to talk about it at the podcast and kind of use it as somewhat of a segue. So I saw this and absolutely got a chuckle out of it. I don't think this is at a ballpark. I don't know where this sign is, and it's probably obviously it's a joke, but this is something that should be at every ballpark, damn near everywhere. And yes, that being said, like my kids do show up to the ballpark with me sometimes and kind of wander and do them please, but I do my damnedest, and my wife does as well, to make sure they're not causing trouble, make sure they're not bothering anybody, and make sure they're at least being polite, respectful kids. And some people just show up and they just like expect everybody else is there to sitting in the stands to watch their kids for them. It's like, man, that's tough sometimes. And you know, I'm not saying that people haven't pitched in and helped me with my kids before, and I'm very grateful for that. But the people that show up and expect it every week, that gets tough and it gets touchy. But I saw this and I laughed, because I could totally know. I know some people that have been in the situation of dealing with other people's kids would definitely like to give a lesson or two from this sign. Give them a Red Bull, teach them a couple F-bombs, whatever you may feel like sending them on their way with, and cutting them loose. And I showed that to my wife. It was kind of funny because I showed that to my wife, and she goes, "Yeah, they're going unattended even longer until that energy drink wears off." So you fight fire with fire there, and just, they're already being a shithead. You're going to give them an energy drink and let them get wild, then just leave them out there. So I got a good chuckle on it. I think my guy CJ is the one that posted that, which he's one that we haven't heard from today. I just realized that. CJ is always in the chat going on about something. Sometimes something useful, sometimes not. Brandon is playing, was it Berliner in Columbus, Ohio for C-State? C-State already? It's like a spring state tournament or something like that? Seems a little early in the year for state tournaments. Adam headed out to Myrtle Beach for one this weekend. That'll be cool. Get out to Myrtle Beach and enjoy that stuff. How far of a drive is Myrtle Beach for you? Mike is a Chargers fan, excited to see Herbert in year 2 with his revamped O-line. Yeah, Justin Herbert, dude. Like, Phillip Rivers, I don't know how you feel about Phillip Rivers, but man, Phillip Rivers is one of those guys, like, he can always find a way to win the regular season games and then not get too far from there. But, Rivers, it's always every time they lose and miss the playoffs or lose the playoff game, it was always like this crazy thing. It's a blowout game or somebody got hurt. Is what it seemed like to me. And dude, Herbert last year had the worst luck. Dude was playing his ass off and not really getting much in return out of, I wouldn't say his team, but necessarily the scoreboard, to go out there and do what he was doing on the football field and to not have the record to show it had to be frustrating and discouraging. But props to the dude for just staying dug in and just grinding the season out and doing what he could, doing the best he could for his team and everything else. That's really all you can ask for out of the guy. But Herbert was very good last year. He was fun to watch. And I know at one point he was talking about Sorry, I had a squirrel moment here. I just got a text message. Kind of threw me for a loop. So I know at one point, some of the commentators watching the Chargers games and stuff and just kind of keeping up with football, they were saying that they had by far the smallest margin of loss going into like week 6 or 7. So they had that many games that were that close and lost like right at the end of the game. Man, that's tough, but that is encouraging. At least if you're in Herbert's shoes, that's encouraging to know that you're that close to winning. That means it's not going to take but one or two things to go your way, and all of those losses will turn into wins. So if you're a grinder and that kind of thing, then you can put your head down and grind and make better of the situation. And that's something like, back to the life lesson thing again. Adam calls them the subliminal messages. That's something that can be applied to life. It's something that can be applied to softball. It's something that can be applied to a lot of things. You see these teams going out and going 0-2 or 1-2 or maybe even 2-2 on the weekend and getting super frustrated. Like, take those as opportunities to learn, because you're winning games. So look back at what you did to win games and then apply that to the games that you lost. Was it home run management? Was it defensive management? Was it hitting and pitch selection and being patient? Hitting on different pitchers can yield a lot of different results. Maybe sit down and watch a team play. Sit down and watch and see, what's this pitcher doing? How's the best way we can get to this pitcher? You can apply it to a million different facets of life. Chiefs very happy with the draft and the wall they built for Mahomes with free agency. Yeah, I tell you what, I'm not a Chiefs guy in the slightest, but I'm going to give all the credit in the world to old Patty, man. He is good. He is next level good. He keeps up even at the rate that he's at now, and he will be the best quarterback to play the game. No question about it. Trey Wingo calls him future Hall of Famer Patrick Mahomes, and he is 100% correct. The things that man can do on a football field is absolutely insane. So to give him some more time to throw and that kind of thing, it's just going to make him that much better. It's going to be wild. See, Washington, glad they drafted D and didn't get involved in the challenge of drafting a quarterback. The drafting of a quarterback, man, that whole situation was sticky this year. But they got that Fitzmagic, man. That's another guy. Like, I think that he kind of falls in the same category as Andy Dalton, as somebody who has been a gamer, has been good, like good, and just never really had an opportunity to show what he could do with a great team around him. He's had some good teams around him, but the opportunity to see what he could do with a great team around him, and I don't know. I've always been a Fitzmagic guy, so it'll be cool to see what he can do. Bears quarterbacks are cursed. Then they drafted an OSU quarterback, which almost never paying out in the NFL. Yeah, so that's got me hesitant, because I know I didn't follow a ton of college football these last couple years, but I know that Fields his draft stock was really high, and then it took a little bit of a hit. That's actually why he ended up going so late, back down to 11. So we'll kind of see what happens here. I really hope that Matt Nagy, being the quarterback whisperer that everyone claims that he was, can really work with him. And like I said, Dalton able to work with him and help him out as well. And being surrounded with an already good offense is going to be something that really helps him get his feet under him and get established as a quarterback. Because the one thing that I'm always fearful of when it comes to new quarterbacks in the league is just getting absolutely thrown to the wolves. Like I feel for Joe Burrow in the situation that he got thrown in. It's just like he went out there really kind of thrown into I wouldn't call it a crappy situation, but not a great situation. And look at him. He ended up getting hurt. And anybody can get hurt. I mean, Dak Prescott got hurt playing for the Cowboys last year, who arguably should have had one of the best offenses in the NFL. You can get hurt playing anywhere, anytime. But, Herbert arguably wasted a year knowing that they weren't going to be great, but they needed Herbert to get his feet wet and get the experience in. And, look at what it got you. He may never be the same quarterback. He may come back better. He may be unfazed by the injury. You just don't know. All right, so I do have a couple more topics here that I wanted to discuss. One of them, hang on just a second here. Dude, so we've been kind of looking, my wife and I have. I'm going car guy on you just a little bit here. We've been thinking about getting like a Jeep Wrangler or something. What's everybody's thoughts on the Jeep Wranglers? Just looking for like a sun and fun vehicle. So my dad has a couple of older Corvettes. He's got a 64 and a 78. And my wife and I took the 78 out for a little bit of a cruise one night. It was a beautiful night outside. It's got T-tops in it. We took the T-tops out and went for a cruise. And man, just like the feeling of the open air and the freedom around you, man, it's so hard to beat. And we got to talking like, man, we need something like this. He's got two different Corvettes. He's got a 64 Stingray that is, if you're a car guy, you know what numbers matching means. It's all original. The same way it left the factory is how that car still is. And he don't mind us taking that one out for a drive sometimes. But he bought the 78 for anybody and everybody. Like literally, if you in this chat on YouTube showed up at his front door and said, "Hey, I watch your son's YouTube channel. Can I take the 78 for a drive?" He'd say, "Yeah, go ahead. Go grab the keys." I mean, that's how much he forced. What's the word I'm looking for? It's how much he doesn't care about that car. I mean, he still cares about it, but it's a car that he wants everybody to enjoy because everybody should be able to experience a car like that, just the classic car, the car that you can go out and kind of beat and bang around in, the car that you're not afraid to drive the crap out of. So we took that thing out and was out cruising around in it, and it's not the nicest car, but he was a mechanic since he was 14 years old. He's 64 now. So he bought the car in kind of rough shape and did his touches and things to it. It's a great little car now. And it doesn't look the best. It may not be the nicest, but it's something that you can go out and enjoy. You can park it in a freaking Walmart parking lot and not worry about getting a big door ding in it or getting torn up, or somebody runs into it, big freaking whoop. It's all fiberglass. Go order the panel you need, mesh it back in, slap some paint on it, and go. That's what that car is meant for, and it's kind of nice to have something like that. So I was kind of talking to my wife, she's like, "Oh, we really need something like this." And she said, "We need something we can take the kids in." So, maybe something, like an older car or something, but just like the feeling of the freedom, like the convertible, the top down, the air, just the open around you is something that's like hard to beat. And then I thought, hey, like what about maybe something like a K5 Blazer, which for those that don't, it's like an older Blazer, like a Chevy pickup, but it's got back seats and the top comes off of it. Kind of the same concept as a Jeep, because I'm a GM guy. My dad has been a GM guy since he was a kid, and he kind of pushed that off on me. I've been the same way. I've never owned anything but a GM, and here we are looking at Jeeps because we got to looking at a little bit of the K5 Blazers and stuff, and my wife wasn't necessarily blown away with them. Like, she liked the idea of the open top and the classic nostalgia and everything. And her dad's got an older truck that those old Blazers kind of gave her the feel of, and she did enjoy that. And then we were just kind of out cruising on some back roads one day, headed to a friend of mine's house, and we drove by a house, and there was a Jeep sitting in the yard with the top off of it. And she just looks at me and says, "I want a Jeep." All right, I can get down with this. So it was a Jeep Wrangler sitting there in the driveway. So, been on the Wrangler search. I'm not looking to break the bank. It's going to be a third vehicle. It's going to be something that sits in the garage unless it's a nice day. If it's a nice day or nice night, everybody kind of piles in and goes, or somebody's got a ball game here across town, we can all just jump in and go and and do that thing, and kind of the same concept as Dad's Corvette. Have something you're not worried about getting tore up or anything like that. So, find something in the, $10,000 to $12,000 range, which Jeep prices are insane. The used car market, it must be used everything. Because Music for All says, and he's right, prices are already skyrocketing in the used market in general. And even looking back at when my wife gave us kind of the green light to maybe start doing a little bit of car shopping for like the third vehicle, even from what I had been just kind of like nosing around with and going back and looking at some of that same stuff, the prices on those are going up. And Jeeps hold value like crazy. If you're not familiar with Jeeps or used cars or a lot of that stuff, it's pretty common ground for a 20-year-old Jeep to still easily be worth $15,000 with a pretty good amount of miles on it. I'm talking close to 200,000 miles. You can still see 20-year-old Jeeps selling for $15,000 if it's trimmed right. It doesn't even have to have a lot of aftermarket stuff. If it's trimmed right, if it's the right combination of things. So we're not looking to break the bank, just kind of looking to have something we can enjoy. Doesn't have to be jacked up in the air. I do agree that the Gladiators on 35s is tight, but I'm looking to spend like a tenth of that. Just kind of have something to bang around in. So it's been an adventure so far, but we're looking forward to it. And maybe, just maybe, talking about like different content on the channel, maybe that'd be a good vlog. Going to, if we can ever find something, going and picking it up and kind of sharing that experience with you guys. Crap. I don't know how. I think I just did another one. Let me know when that ad is over. I'm really sorry. I don't know if you can still see or not. I guess I could pull it up and see. I accidentally clicked the wrong button. Let me see what's going on the channel here. Oh yeah, Jason, you sound like Gabe. So Gabe says too. Gabe's rule of consulting with a friend to buy something is, when in doubt, ball out. That's all he ever tells me. It's like, dude, you got to quit that shit. Like, this is my money. It's easy to say, when in doubt, ball out. But it's funny though, because I'll do the same thing to him. A while back, he was looking for a gaming headset, and if you're familiar with gaming headsets, the Astro A50 is like the Lamborghini of gaming headsets. And he's like, man, I was like, I need a gaming headset, but I don't know what to buy. It's like, I need something for this Xbox that I just bought, but I think I'm going to spend like $100 on like a Steel Series or something. And I was like, no, man, no, not a chance. Not a chance at all. I'm hitting you with a dose of your own medicine here. When in doubt, ball out. And it's funny because I ended up talking him into getting one of those Astro A50s. Those are very expensive headsets, but it's very nice. But I just thought it was funny. It's like, take a dose of your own medicine there. So yeah, it's really cool to like encourage people to spend their money until it's you're the one spending money. So I'll tell you what, Jason, you let me know when it's time for you to make a big expenditure, and I'm going to come back and tell you the same thing. I'll be a big fan of spending your money. So we're excited to get the Jeep thing going. Hopefully we'll get something going soon. Like I said, maybe a little bit of a vlog thing. It'd be the perfect league night vehicle too. Not a ton of storage in the thing, but there's enough room to throw a bag in and go out and enjoy the league night. And then you can be nice and cool on the way home, all kinds of fresh air. It'll be dope. But we're an hour into this thing, so I think I am going to wrap the podcast up. Thanks everybody for stopping in and checking it out. I really appreciate every single one of you. We're going to plan on next Thursday at 10 a.m. I'm thinking about hosting a night show, and I don't know if I'm going to start doing it here on YouTube as well, or if I'm going to do it on Facebook. But I'm not going to do anything without talking to you guys. Jason, stay out of this. We are not going Jeep shopping together. And I'll talk to you guys about it and let you know for sure what we end up doing. If we end up doing like a second night, maybe do like a night show so the people that are working catch it, and we can kind of go from there. But nonetheless, what I want to say is thank you for stopping in every Thursday morning at 10 a.m. and checking this one out. Be sure to stop in next Thursday at 10 a.m. for the BP Hero podcast. Sweetheart, in case you hit it, and I'll catch you then, guys.